saying the actor's just not hitting it.
The actor is just not hitting it, like a bad relationship. What do you do? I didn't say that.
But
that goes a different direction.
You know, my personal life's a little different than my job. So professionally, when they're not hitting it correctly, I say, oh, wow, thanks so much. You're so great. And then we just have them leave as soon as possible. But I never, ever let them know.
So you don't do that.
Because I'll tell you why.
Okay.
He
walked away.
Every director wants something different. Every role is totally different than the next role. So you might not be hitting it right for this director, but you might be for a different director, right? Then, of course, there's some people who just, how do I say this? Not all jobs for commercials really require acting. Some of them require you just being natural. And so we don't really need those people to act. We need them to be themselves. And those are the audience maybe for those people, right? Especially if they have a great gregarious personality, like that really shines through on camera. In terms of if someone who clearly can't act ever type of a thing, I just don't call them back in again and figure either it's not their calling or maybe they're new and they need more classes. You know, not everybody's the best actor in the world when they first start out. There's a real craft to it. Some people are lucky and they're great, but I would imagine, you know, as an actor, it takes a long time to find your own voice and get that. I used to do comedy and I literally remember the day where I felt this click inside my body. I was doing improv and I couldn't figure it out and I couldn't get it and I was the worst improviser ever. And then I just felt this click. Like it was just inside my body and everybody laughed at what I said. And I don't know what I said. I really don't. But for me, my process at the time was to go back and find that place inside my body again and not really think about what I'm saying, right? So every actor has their own process that's really going to be correct for them, which is why they have Meisner, method, this, that. Not everyone, it's not going to work for everybody to be a method actor. But I don't necessarily think, oh, that's the worst actor I've ever seen in my life. Like there's so many factors, right? Maybe they're just not ready for heavy dialogue. Maybe this isn't the job for them. Does that make sense? And then there's a difference between that, by the way, and someone who can't hit marks, someone where you give them like a little bit of the direction and they just can't do it. That's different. I think that's a communication problem. So I feel like they're going to have a hard time as an actor because they can't hear.
Oh, okay.
I'm still polite to them, but that's sort of where I categorize them as, oh, this person can't hear.
Okay.
For whatever reason. Maybe they're too nervous. Maybe, I don't really know why, but the end result is that they can't hear me and they can't hear my staff.
Right.
We don't give people one try only. We'll try, even if it's someone who's not hitting it, we'll give them direction. We'll give them really specific direction and give them a chance to change the course. And if they can do it, then we work with them more. If they can't, then we just let them go.
Do you do this in the
session live?
No, well, yes, but like let's say you're doing a callback situation.
Yes. Well,
in that situation,
so you get a lot, like 50, actually there's so many different kinds of directors. There's like the jaded director who's done millions of dollar commercials and he can't make eye contact with any of the actors because he's, for whatever reason, he's won 1 million awards. And it's not that he's a dick. He's just, his process is like quick and he's like, thanks guys. Then there's other directors I work with that are friends with tons of actors. And they really feel ethically like they have to give everybody the same amount of time, even if they're not going to get the job. And so those people get worked with a lot in callbacks, even if they're not going to get the job because of the way the director is. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
there's some directors that sometimes will have to say, listen, I really appreciate you being so nice. But if you don't think you're going to like someone for the job, don't give them 2 tries so that you have more time to work with people that you think you're going to like for the job. But it just depends on the director and the way he wants to run the callback. There's quite a few directors I work with that are really, 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 they never want to make an actor feel bad. And that's a priority for them. They give everybody time, even if they know in their head in that moment that they aren't getting the job.
And so, like, because I think this is going to go into a little bit of who Lisa is.
Okay.
We'll talk about your classes coming up, because that's really actually super exciting.
Cool.
What gave you, I guess, like the gumption or the courage, whatever adjective that you want to put there, and as far as making that leap, what gave you that as like a casting director when you had first started in your personal life? Because you had talked about being a comedian. What gave you I'm going to do this. I am going to do this.
I'm going to give you the most honest answer I have.
Okay.
I could not wait tables to save my life. I got fired within an hour of every restaurant I got hired at. I remember Melrose and being like, yes, I speak Italian. And I'm good at hustling. So I was like, I speak Italian. I don't know any Italian at all. And I'm also, I do jujitsu, so I'm less clumsy now. But at the time, I wasn't someone that should be carrying a lot of plates. And I'm good with people, right? But it just wasn't the job for me. And I remember they were like, you don't speak Italian. I was like, yes, I do. I did not. And they were like, just please leave. And
wow, you got the please leave?
I mean, I was an asshole. I got a job lying. I'm not proud of this, but I was like a wannabe struggling, like everybody else. I was very young. I was struggling. I worked for the Beastie Boys, but I started as an intern. But then once I got paid, it was like a real small amount. So I needed, just like you guys, I needed like 5 jobs.
Yeah. And what was he? I mean, I don't want to age, but how young were you at this time? Really
young, like probably first year of college or something like that. Like I left college to work for the Beastie Boys.
Oh, okay. Just so we're kind of like putting a timeline here, because I think a lot of people
towards the end of their height. It wasn't like in the 80s. It was like more in the late 90s, and so around that time, I hope this doesn't make me sound douchey. But I just happened to be friends with.
I hope this doesn't make me sound douchey. That's how she's gonna start it off. I continue.
Like people that other people thought were very cool, and like Supreme culture at that time, there was one store, and they like didn't even let you in the store unless they were friends with you. It was ridiculous how. There's a store called Union, and they sold like $500 graphic t-shirts. And that was my crowd, professional skaters and rappers. And I was friends with a lot of people that other casting directors couldn't get to give them the time of day. Because these guys were gnarly, and they'd say things like, fuck you, bitch. Like, someone would be like, do you want to come audition for this Coke commercial? And they'd be like, fuck you, bitch.
She
like,
goes, so you hear that deep voice? That deep voice Lisa got going on over there.
I used to work exclusively on rap videos. Like it's, when I tell you that I've had to take a long time to hone my professional persona, I'm not lying. Like my point about that was it was really kind of the only job I was really naturally good at. You know how some people just have that personality where they are like the worst employee in the world until they own their own business?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah. I was like, it sounds like kind of there.
Right. I worked for this wardrobe stylist. She's like a huge costume designer now, and I was her assistant. And years later, I ran into her, and she said, "I love you, but you were the worst assistant I'd ever had." Like, because I don't know why, but I just sort of have that personality where it's better for me if I'm running a bunch of stuff. And I'm naturally, to regular people in the rest of the world, I sound like I'm constantly judging and categorizing people. And that's just sort of the way my brain works. Like I can make up stories and I could look at you and be like, okay, you're married to this kind of a person and these are the kids you have. And as a comedian, I also thought like that. So it sort of really, my personality and the way my brain thinks lended itself really naturally to casting. I call casting being able to have a party where you are also the bouncer, the doorman, and you just get to, it's the one time in your life where you get to be like, you can come, you can't come, you can come. And it's not about the power, it's more about one of the talents I have naturally and innately is being able somehow to figure out what you like in other people aesthetically. So the reason I get a lot of cool people jobs is from my background where I was in a really snooty crew that had like clubs that they wouldn't always let people into. Everyone was friends with the DJs. Hip hop was like more underground at the time. And so I had access to those kinds of people. The type that would be smoking blunts on set at that time. They looked very cool, but they were not professional models or actors at all, which is why Levi's freaked out. And they were like, how did you get? Basically, they had me have everyone come to a hotel, which is also
Was it like
weird.
a Hilton or was it like at least an embassy suite?
Some set marquee. And it was by the pool. So it was still like, and at the time I got paid more than I'd ever gotten paid in my life, which is
As a casting director or as the model?
just as I didn't get the modeling job because I'm not a model, but they gave me the casting job and they were so impressed with the people I got. They were like, how did you get these people? And I said, they're all my friends, and.
What was that face?
Because I was thinking about.
No, not yours, not yours. What was their face when you said, "Oh, they're all my friends"? Did you get good feedback?
This was the face.
Really?
They were just because here's the thing: there wasn't Instagram at the time, so it's not like you have all these people on Instagram and it's easier access and you trust people more. At that particular time, professional older white ladies are not going to let these grimy guys that are smoking blunts and drinking 40s all day talk to them. They don't trust them. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to the point where, and a lot of these guys were in the movie Kids. Like that movie was how they really lived at the time. So I don't know if you remember that movie, but it was like from the 90s, I think, and it was just about
Saved by the Bell era.
Later. It was like skate culture era, and so I would get in fights with these guys, and we would threaten to fight and stuff. Like it was a gnarly crew. It was rap. I was often the only person at the rap show that was a white lady. Like it was just a gnarly crew.
Yeah,
and it was ethnically mixed, but
she goes, it's going to be predominantly minorities if we're going to be politically correct here.
It was more like at the time, New York was everything. You had Puerto Ricans, Dominicans.
Yeah.
LA wasn't like that at the time, especially for hip hop. So what brought us all together was really liking the specific kind of underground hip hop and certain DJs. So it was sort of the only scene in LA at the time that had every culture imaginable, and it wasn't Hollywood yet, right? So their face was just like, how did you get access to all these people? Because I don't know, these guys were like 20, 19, 21. They couldn't get themselves jobs. They would get themselves fired. Put it this way, within the last 5 years, I've cast some of the similar type of guys, and I've gotten calls that they were drinking beer on set.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So they were just rough, but they looked awesome. And then at the very same time as when my friends started doing the Black Eyed Peas videos, and I was like, listen, I just cast this Levi's thing. Like, let me do these for you. And he was like, okay. And so it was less the confidence and more like entrepreneurial thinking. but I was naturally good at it, which is why I eventually gave up acting and comedy, because I realized I'm so naturally, like, I don't mean this bragging, like gifted. What I mean is I found an aspect of my personality that really lends itself well to this type of job. I know wardrobe stylists that turn shopping addictions into a career. But if you can monetize that, it was sort of the same for me. I'm really good at putting groups of people together and, you know, you're this kind of dad, you're this kind of kid, and I'm good at giving people what they want.
Mm. It doesn't even sound like, to be honest with you, like you even thought about any other career path.
Okay, so the truth is I was really obstinate. Like, I truly now, at this time in my life, know I was supposed to be a casting director. Most likely. I mean, maybe that could have been other things, but I booked things, but emotionally it was super rough on me. I was really competitive. You have to really, I had a thick skin, but the person I would have become is not the person I am today if I stuck at it. I would have become a full-blown narcissist and an asshole if I stuck with it.
Put it lightly.
My comedic process was, how do I say this? I just, as an improviser, you're supposed to share the scene, and I didn't do that.
Me, it is about moi.
It's about me. Oh, I hear what you're saying. Let me one up you. You know what I mean? And the audience liked it, so I didn't care. And I would have, you know, I had some opportunities to be on some really good TV shows, and I just don't think I would have really been happy as a person. Whereas I love my job now. I love that I can prep from home. I like the freedom I have. I don't have the same kind of emotional stress I had as an actor, which is also why it's so important to me to talk to you guys about that, because I've been there. It's so hard, and it's so easy to be rough on yourself because you are constantly hoping for something to happen for you. Not like a regular job where you get to, you know, you're guaranteed something every day. It's a constant state of panic and uncertainty, which is a difficult place to live.
Mm. Can I ask you a question?
What?
So earlier I noticed in your body language, when you were talking about the person that you are today compared to what you would have been if you stayed in comedy, you kind of shifted a little bit and kind of like paused. And I thought it was interesting. It looked like you were like thinking back on a moment or a time in your life as a comedian.
Yeah, I have one where I realized it.
Was that a light bulb moment, or was that like a, no, I need to get out of here now because this person is good?
No, it was over the course of a year. And
Okay.
this is going to get pretty heavy and deep, so I don't know if this should go on the show. But
It's okay.
so this isn't what I talk like as a comedian. I had a whole other, I was compared to Andy Kaufman a lot. There's only a few people that had this type of conversation. Everyone else in the world got somebody that only looked inside one of your eyeballs. So if we were in, I don't know if you can tell, but I'll try and do it to you right now. I don't think it'll work, but.
Let me look forward.
Hypnotize me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ask me anything. I don't even know if I can do it anymore, but ask me anything.
What's your favorite color, Lisa? What? I would think you're high.
Everybody thought I was either high or mentally unstable, and I got off on it. That's when I'm saying I went to a different, I always was, my favorite thing in life was to play games with people. It entertained me. I didn't care how you felt about it. I would have people think at parties I was so drunk that they were scared of me, and I was completely sober. I did this all the time. It was really fun for me to fuck with people. You'd get in a group audition for improv, and I'd be in the corner like this.
Oh, fuck that. Fuck that. I would have walked out on Lisa and been like, yo, she got something going on here.
Everybody that
He's
didn't
got COVID.
feel like
Yeah.
very uncomfortable around me, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it to the point where my family was like, Lisa, start talking normal, and I'd go, this is who I am. There were these directors that really liked me, and they kept trying to get me on every job, and the clients would say that she is a legal liability was the word that was used about me multiple times, because as an improviser I also couldn't control my language, and my process was like whatever comes to mind. I was like, the reason people were like, oh, you're like Andy Kaufman, was more just because I really didn't care. Like, it was about me, and it was about me being funny. So, and it was about my creative process. So you go on a commercial set and you can't, this is so embarrassing. I can't believe I'm even telling you this. I did a promo for a TV show on NBC.
Okay.
And I was supposed to go up to the star of the show and want a book signing from him. And he goes, can I help you? And I said, yeah, I want a jar of your sperm. I don't know where the fuck that came from. But
Don't say doing your husband. Don't say doing your husband. Don't say doing your husband. Don't say doing your husband.
So I hear cut. And then somebody says, sweetie, this is network. You can't talk like that. Like, on every callback I'd go on, I would get notes like, you love your kids. You're not trying to murder them. Like, I was just a very dark, it was just a dark, I had a dark sense of comedy. Everything was dark. So they'd be like, improvise a scene with your kids. And I'd be like, you don't stop, I'm gonna stick you in the oven. Like, I would just say wild.
And you see, she like turned her head and looked at you all like Red Rum style.
Right? And then I'd smile and be like, and directors loved me, but of course clients were scared of me. Like, this isn't commercial. So at any rate, what had happened? There was these guys that kept trying to get me hired, and they wanted me so bad for this commercial that I was told by the casting director they paid for an additional day of casting where she called porn stars in just to prove that I could be normal. And she made me come back in with my hair blown out straight and like a really pretty outfit on. And she intentionally made me talk like a normal person because they didn't believe I could be normal. And I still didn't get the job. But I got a direct to callback from the same directors. And at this time, I was just doing some, taking some time for my personal life, kind of figuring out what I wanted. And I started realizing that my form of acting was to kind of disassociate. Do you know what disassociating it is?
Right.
It's when you leave your body.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't think that's healthy. And I realized I just didn't want to do that anymore, but I didn't know how else to do comedy without doing it because that took the fun out of it for me, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm going to go to this direct to callback and I'm going to try something new. I'm going to be myself. So I come in and they were like, Lisa Roth, how are you? And I was like, I'm okay. And the room fell silent. And I could tell they were really uncomfortable. They didn't want to know how I was doing. They wanted, what do you want to do? They wanted me to be the other person. And I left the call back and I started crying. And I was like, oh my God, none of these people knew I was joking. And I guess maybe I just became uncomfortable. I don't know what it was. I think thinking about the process and what disassociation does to your body. And by the way, if you're an actor, don't worry about it. This was my process, right? It wasn't fun for me to act anymore without doing that type of it. Does that make sense? And the more I wanted to sort of be my normal self, it started to bother me that it stopped being fun that people didn't think I was a normal person. And over that period of time, I started realizing, because I was changing so much as a person, I kind of liked casting better. But I had taken a break from casting to pursue comedy only because a lot of clients, it's just weird to have your casting director also be an actor. And I didn't get it at the time, but they just don't want to feel responsible for you wanting a job from them. You know what I mean? They like to keep it separate. And over that year, the course of that next year, I was like, I kind of think this isn't for me. And I thought it was for me my whole life, but I realized that I wanted more of a peaceful internal life. And in order to continue to do comedy, I needed a lot of chaos and drama to have stuff to feed off of. Does that answer it, sort of?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it kind of like leads me into my next question. And again, this all is going to tie into your relationship with actors, because I feel like you have a very deep sense and a fulfillment on why you have structured your career as it is. When an actor comes up to you, there's common themes that come up, and it's like, how do actors get in front of you? I mean, some of the questions that were on our live, what kind of reps do you talk to? Now, having that persona as a casting director, do you talk with the reps or actors in that way as like a joking casting director way to like establish, hey, we have a relationship and I work with you?
In a group slate. So the group slate is the time to give us cute jokes. The group slate is the time to just give us your name and smile. And let's say there's a group of 4 or 5 people. And you guys know about group slates, right? Yeah, this is super common. We line you up in the room and someone says, hey, my name's, whatever, Dave Chappelle, which I don't know why I'm saying Dave Chappelle, but I love him. So, hi, that's
awesome in a group slate.
Right. Exactly. Hi, my name's Dave Chappelle. And then person 2 goes, I'm Dave Chappelle too. That person really is threatened by how Dave Chappelle did his slate. Dave Chappelle had some kind of natural charisma without having to add some extra on it. And the next person is letting you know, threatened him because he has to reference check that guy. I also know that because that was done to me a lot. In a lot of group auditions, there was this girl who was super competitive with me. And she would go, she's funny. Every group slate we were in, she would reference me in her group slate. Don't do it, guys. Keep it to yourself. It's not, it just doesn't read as funny. It reads as what it is. Somebody just made you feel like they're going to outdo you with their slate.
It's not creative at all. It doesn't show any personality. It's just, let's take from this person because I have nothing to go for.
Yeah.
But it's a slate, right? Right? It's a slate.
Knowing directors think people being cute slates are. I have a camera operator so this is also going to make, every casting director has different rules. Some of them really are like, to the camera guys, you have to be nice to the actors. I don't say that because of the people that don't follow direction. And, maybe it's not cool he's a dick. The first time I saw him do it.
Dicks. She just
dicks. This is the most popular one, okay? Hi, are you so-and-so? Are you willing to shave? Yes, I'm willing to shave. Hi, my name's Lisa, and I'm willing to shave. And I'm a female. So then my camera guy goes, cut. This is the first time I ever do it. Cut. You guys, it's not cute, and it's not funny. Directors don't want to see it. Just say it. And at first I was like, oh my God, he's being so mean. What do I do? I was horrified. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is working. Because it worked. And it's just, you're doing yourself a disservice if you do those cutesy slates. I will tell you this. Feel free to take a page out of my book and an unnamed, very well-known commercial director's. That slates like this. Hey, my name's Dave Brown. It's a great slate. You are a weirdo. You're hilarious. I need to know more about you. But you didn't add words. You make a joke. Do you see what I'm saying? And that only works if you're a comedian and that lends itself to your personality. If your personality is like smooth, charming guy, you don't have to say anything. You will be smooth and charming with your slate. You know what I mean?
Put that right across the street, the screen, Andy.
Wait, let me get my reaction.
Cascade.
Here we go.
Kind of directed you. You're like smooth, handsome, also approachable and friendly looking. And if I had you slating, I wouldn't want you to say anything other than your name and smile. That's going to make you look best. Because you're charming. You know what I mean? So if you try to brighten up the room or add some extra, instead of us just seeing your natural presence, which comes through.
Well, it's personality slate, so yeah.
It's a vibe, right? And if you put the extra on, you go from us naturally sort of picking that up ourselves and into, why do you say that? You know what I mean? And now that's the client going, oh, this guy's gonna add extra. Like they're gonna. It's how do I say this? I say this all the time, and it's gonna make me look bad. Like it's not. It sounds so rude, but they don't want you to talk.
On a.
Oh my God! I just love that she said that.
But you know, I noticed. I booked a commercial a long time ago, and the casting director said, "Listen, he wants to book you, but he's scared you're going to talk too much on set."
Oh yeah, I've always thought.
Stop talking.
I thought about that. I was like,
the more your mouth moves, the less prettier you get by the second.
I talked too much in callbacks because I thought they thought I was funny and da 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 da, and they, you know what I mean. Some directors loved it, but this guy was interesting himself. But he has every right. It's his set. If he doesn't want actors talking to him the whole time, he has that right. You know what I mean? And at the time, if I was a different actor, I could have emotionally reacted like, well, that's wrong. No, it's not. It's a job interview. If they don't want you talking the whole time, they don't want you talking the whole time. Just keep some of that in mind when there's chatting going on in the callback, you know? That even if they're chatting with you, they want it to be short.
I've ran into that, so I'm gonna say I agree. So
it's very seductive, right? You have all these smiling faces at you, and your body's like, they're liking me. They want more of this. They're gonna give me the job if they get more. Oh, you have a dog, I have a dog. They want that for 10 seconds, and then they want you to be like, well, you guys, thank you so much for having me. I'll see you later. Even if they're, you know what I mean? They will let you know without a doubt if they want you to keep talking by something. Wait a minute, hold on, you play soccer? Or wait a minute, hang on, you went where? What country? They will be, you know, just like a regular conversation. That's how you're gonna know they want you to keep talking, you know?
But when they change the subject and they're like, oh, that coffee was good this morning. Hey, Julie.
That means when it's way too late. That, you know what I mean?
Like,
and as a casting director, I'm occasionally made responsible for that, which is like, I can't be responsible for that. But I want you guys to know not to do it, not because I hate you, but because of the nature of the entire process. Maybe outside on the street, they want you to, it's like then they want you to talk, you know what I mean, when you're two people. But in that room, they're thinking of, are their locations approved yet? What color is the wall going to be? Do we have clearance on the lighting packages? Has the cameras arrived? And that's why they don't want so much talking, because all the time, you know what, callbacks when we open the door and say, give us 10 minutes, you guys. Because they have to have a conference call now about, I don't know, the dolly truck or the permits. And that's why sometimes in a callback, you'll think it's your turn and then they make you wait 10 minutes. Like they always have a ton of stuff they're dealing with that is very time sensitive. And so the real basis for wanting you to talk a lot is that.
So I get a lot of this, oh man, I did so great. Everything was excellent, except I did one take, and then I heard all these other people do other takes, and they talked to them and all this stuff, and I only did one, and they said, that's great, and I'm out of here. And then they're in their head, and they're like totally messed up. They think that's awful. I was like, well, if you did one take and they said it was great, then I would think that's what that means, you know,
Okay.
or they're being nice
My
to you.
experience as someone who used to go on commercial auditions and cast at the same time will come in. The reason why I had a 90% callback ratio is because I made sure my agent only submitted me on jobs that I was right for. I got an agent that didn't ask me to be somebody I wasn't. I looked like the girl next door. I looked like the friend, but I wasn't. I was the weirdo. I was Philip Seymour Hoffman in this body. You know what I mean? I was just a strange bird, and I hooked up with an agent that knew it and only put me out for jobs where I could shine. So I didn't need auditions a week. If I had one a week, I got callbacks on all of them. But I knew, and that this is what I talk about in my classes, and this was my secret tip. I knew the process of these people. I knew that if I didn't get the job, it wasn't because they didn't think I was funny. Maybe they didn't think I was funny, but that just means I wasn't for the job. It doesn't mean I'm not a good actor or actress. Also, I saw how many times they debated on a model or a 12-year-old Asian girl. Or should it be a grandma? What should, well, since we have this couple in this scene, we might have to change the demo for this scene. And the reason why those other people are getting longer is because they probably fit the demographics that the job's requiring. Maybe they already have a couple favorites in mind, and by the time you got there, they had things locked down. Maybe their clients just called and said the role you came in for isn't happening anymore. They didn't have it in the budget. Those are all reasons that have nothing to do with you getting one take. And when I want every actor to leave having had the one take experience going, okay, I'm not the specs they needed. Not I'm not a good actor. Commercials are they're not all that different from theatrical, but they are in that it's less, unless it's a comedy spot, it's less about really your acting and more about like hitting their target demos and acting, of course, right? And being a good actor. But especially with a lot of the lifestyle spots that don't have dialogue, it's not that hard to smile and look warm. And, they have a lot of demographics. Advertising goes in phases where different type of looks are really popular at different type, as you know, Andy, you know what I mean? Different. Everybody right now wants mixed, like ethnically ambiguous is very popular. Maybe in 10 years, something else is going to be popular, but if they have a client that wants them to hit a certain number of demographics, not talent, demographics, age, ethnicity, specific type of look, and you have 8 OCPs, and you're going out for the role that they're still casting, but for some reason they found the one family they like, and you're of a similar demographic than that scene, that's why you got let go quick. You don't fit into their current demo anymore because things on commercials are also rapidly shifting.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about,
Did that answer it?
your class. I want to hear about your
Yeah,
class.
it sounds like this is going right into your class. Like.
Well, I am going to start putting more of a focus also on self-tapes and auditioning post-coronavirus, right? I'm still going to talk about all this business stuff. I think it's so important for actors to know. My idea was to have one of the days be, like sort of a traditional on-camera commercial class. I'm going to have a session director every time be my guest for that day. So it'll be a 2-day workshop. And we will do some type of either mock Skype auditions or callbacks, or walk you through self-taping auditions. It'll be similar to the process of what commercial classes were before with like on-camera work, but it'll be more focused towards the process now post-coronavirus. And The second day is going to be a Q&A with, I have a bunch of guests who all want to come. One's a commercial director and a horror movie director. One is another casting director, Karen from Canvas Casting. I have a couple other casting directors that want to guest with me.
Shout out Karen at Canvas Casting.
Shout
her out. She a homie. We had to shout her out real quick.
And let's see, I have a few agents who want to come guest. And my plan was going to be for that second day to be me and them doing something like this, where we ask and answer all your questions. I think I'm going to see how that forms as things move forward, because there's been so many lives that it's going to be open in terms of what did we maybe not address the last class. If there's an opportunity to do any reading, we'll be doing that. It's going to be kind of open based on who my guest is. Early June. They're on my website. I'm going to revise the dates. The dates are still up that I was planning to do, like starting May 15th. But I think it might be too soon because of like finances and whatnot, and I want to really be sensitive to that. I do want to offer the class if people want it, but I'm going to offer it when it makes sense financially. I think, what do you guys think, June?
I think June 1st, I would get rolling. I think people are pretty anxious to come back and just start running. I think also June 1st it's just invaluable information that they can get now, because if you wait till too long, then you've got a pool of everybody that came together with the same ideas. And it's like, oh my God, all these people are doing all these things. Like, which one do I choose? And we go back into that whole, like, let's go and do these workshops again, that we all remember that whole thing. And
the thing I was going to ask too is, I'm new at the workshops, and I've asked other casting directors to do them, and they say I guess people email agents or managers and say, I'm doing this workshop for your students. I also don't think it's the right time to be sending out emails like that. Like I know who's working. I'm not going to be like, buy my class. You know what I mean? So let me know when time. I'll happily take that information from you.
I think the perfect structure for you, or for any casting director or anybody doing classes and everything, is to structure it as a class. It's all help, it's all information, it's all good stuff, rather than workshop. The workshop thing had a big blowout, and just that word itself is like, oh crud, here we go again. But like classes, you're giving your information, your knowledge, and your tips out to all of your people, everybody that follows you, which is a ton of people. And I think that's invaluable, and that's something that everybody could use right now, especially the positive, uplifting, fun time, speaking with you and just being in this group, like class with you, I think is awesome. And that's the direction I would go.
I appreciate it. I'm going to change it all then to classes. I for some reason thought workshops were what people wanted to hear. I don't really have a preference, but it will be. I do know a few casting directors who are teaching self-tape classes, and we are going to be including that. But my thinking moving forward, and I don't know what you've heard, Andy, I feel like different casting directors are going to want to proceed different. Everyone's going to want to do this differently. So I've heard a few people saying they want real in-person auditions when they're ready, and they'll stagger them by time, and they'll have people social distance. Personally, I don't want to do that until maybe 6 months, like whenever it's actually safe. I don't want anybody feeling uncomfortable and at risk from another person. It is very difficult to wrangle people to stay 6 feet apart. The nature of commercial auditions is that people show up whenever they want, and in order for in-person auditions to run smoothly, people are going to actually have to show up at 3:55, 4:07. That's really tough. Self-tapes and Skype auditions are easier to control and streamline, and that's what I'm going to hope to do, unless asked otherwise.
I think doing Zoom auditions one-on-one with people is the way to go, because self-tapes, I think somebody has like, I'm going to do this 50 times and then nail it once, and you can't really gauge, like, are they hitting the mark? or did they have way too much time to like do this thing? I think people that knock out self-tapes like that and get it done that day, those are the people that are going to stand out the most to a lot of people.
And so on the CCDA call, we talked about doing Zoom castings so that we can have a session, we can do live directing. And Zoom castings, I don't think work for the recording aspect, but Skype ones do. And so I'm debating on which one. I like being able to direct the actors. I like my session directors being able to direct the actors. I also was told of a technology that I'm waiting to hear about where it's similar like a Skype audition.
Live stream.
You're hidden. And so the only thing the client sees is the actor. And I'm looking into that. And so that we can still have session directors and us work with you. The one thing about that that's going to be really important is if somebody has a call-in time of 4:07 that they are on at 4:07, that's going to be more important than ever, because I know I'm talking a lot, but I don't know if we brought this up last time. My casting process is a little different than other casting directors. I am a notorious overscheduler. I love giving the opportunity to twice as many people than I'm allowed to.
We talked about this, girl. We talked about this on your live. So go ahead.
So for a day that I can see 180 people total in groups of 5, I schedule 400, which is insane, because I've calculated that 175 show up for every 400 on a non-union job. That's crazy. On a SAG job, if I schedule 225, I'll get my 175. We do not know the ratios of these types of auditions moving forward. I'm not going to be able to do it the way I did in the past, where I give so many people chances and whoever says they're available can come. I am now going to have to go really old school and schedule 25 people per role when I usually can schedule 80, right? Because not all 80 are even going to answer. Maybe the rate's too low. Maybe they're booked out. Maybe their agent doesn't know something that their theatrical didn't tell them. All those things, right? Which is why I'll get 50 people out of 80. I don't have any kind of ratio yet for what this is going to be like. And the only thing all of us as casting director know, the only thing we know is from now on, if your time's 4:20, you have to call it 4:20, because we don't have 5 minutes to wait for you. Another person's calling it 4:20, or we can only see 20 people.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So the amount of auditions I'm going to be able to give out is going to be drastically less. I'm going to try and see if there's a way I can work with it. But for me, that would be my reasoning for wanting self-tapes. Because, Andy, how do I say this? It sounds awful, but it's going to be exactly like you said. Self-tape masters are now going to be the bookers. Right? And they're going to rise to the top. The people who
need to say boom on that, Lisa, because that was some $1 million worth of game for $9.99 that you just dropped.
Yeah.
So the people I talked about earlier who are unprofessional in auditions,
do a sloppy ass self tape with a bedroom in the background.
How about this is not anybody's fault. I'm going to bring something up that is a natural human error, but it oftentimes distinguishes this from a pro. You're saying your line and mess up. I'm sorry. Can I start again? A pro messes their line up and just says whatever to keep it rolling. And we don't notice that they're aware they messed up. The equivalent to the self-tape analogy is the self-tapers that keep it moving like a pro and don't acknowledge they just messed up their lines. The people who do the self-tape rights, they're going to get the jobs. The people who can't make their self-tape works are the people who keep saying, I'm sorry, I messed up. They could be the best actor in the world, but I've seen clients say, I liked him, but it indicates a lack of confidence. when you keep saying sorry, sorry, sorry. And it gives you the job. And is that a good enough analogy?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
point on. Like that's
Very important in auditions. If you mess up, sell, keep it rolling, work it into the. Nobody cares if you didn't say the word yellow that was in the script. Nobody cares.
right.
Oh,
Exactly.
Work into it. You know what I mean? And we'll be
Well,
impressed.
that's the improv section of it, and the personality. It's like, whatever. You just keep on rolling with it.
Keep rolling with it, and do not acknowledge the mistake unless it works. Right? Let's say you're supposed to be selling a wrench, and you say, this bottle. It's that the bottle also doubles as a wrench. By the way, make it up. You just work it in to your character, and they like you. They'll really like you when you do that.
Right.
So regarding the self-tapes, it's going to be the same thing because it just indicates it's not the self-tapes. It's the fact that they're going to be relying on you to film home. They're going to be relying on you to do makeup and wardrobe. They're going to be relying on you guys for a lot of things. And so if you can't get your self-tape together, clients are going to be like, oh, I don't think they're just not handle everything.
Especially right now, and then we'll slowly transition. But especially right now, because now you have to have the people that are like one or two takes done, and they're not going to want they only can have so many people on set right now, and there's all these limitations and new standards. So they're not going to want to have to coach somebody forever and do 30 takes and then deal with drama and all that on set as well. And all these multiples of people, and the whole day goes out to do one scene.
Andy, there might not be sets for a little while too.
Yeah.
So all the commercials happening right now, production is either they're sending you wardrobe or they're sending you different colors. They're having people rearrange their homes to instead of art department for safety. And thankfully, we want them doing this, but it's a collaborative effort now where the actors' hair and makeup, their art department, their lighting, their DP, because they're shooting these commercials themselves at home. So if you can't exactly, if you can't get a proper self-tape together, that indicates that you are not going to be able to handle your own self-shoot if you're booked.
I can tell you the absolute perfect job right now. Become a PA on set. You become instantly an actor, a set designer, an assistant to the director, and an extra, and possibly other things, all because you're a PA on set. These guys are like gold right now.
I mean, and so I guess learning self-tapes, learning lighting. Listen, and as much as I'm saying this, it's not like I'm the best at my own lighting. I'm like blown out. But we will have, all casting directors are going to have specific directions on how to self-tape. If we need to have a certain background, we're going to ask that. We just really need you guys to not only follow directions, but don't overcomplicate it. And if you have to take a class on how to do proper self-tapes, there's a couple of us offering them, myself included. And I would imagine everybody's doing severely discounted rates right now. So I know I am. Mine's like half off, I think.
Yeah. So Lisa, that was just so much right there. Like that was just in that right there. That was incredible.
Okay, cool.
Can you, for our viewers in final, so I mean, you've already given $1 million worth of game for $9.99. I love saying that. But can you list or at least say your Instagram handle for your casting, where people can go, and if they want to sign up or if they want to message you, if they want to talk about one-on-one, whatever that they can do more with you, can you say that out loud?
Follow us on HMH Casting on Instagram. On my website, there's a link for classes. The schedule's going to change soon because, as we discussed, I think I'm pushing classes to June 1st. My Instagram's new, but I'm trying my best to be as active as I can on it. I'm looking at all the stuff you guys are doing on there. I love how active everybody's being. Just try and engage with us on our Instagram. We also have a Facebook page, but I think I'm more active on Instagram, but we try to cross post on both. What else was the other question?
You want to know what? Well, I'll ask this. What's your thing right now? Because we're all indoors. You know, I know that we're going to be opening up soon. But what is your thing that's in your head right now that gets you up every single morning, that gets you going to be like, yo, this is Lisa Roth right here. This is the Roth time, right?
The positive energy that's like, this is what I'm gonna do.
Since I'm not working right now, it's these Instagram lives. I love them. They're so fun. They make me feel like I'm helping you guys, like I'm, you know, because I'm not working. So it makes me feel of value. It makes me feel like I'm giving something back to people in the way that I can, right? I'm not someone that can make masks by hand, but I can certainly give you guys information and support and tell you
Comedy.
how to structure your own acting career as a business, because that's the most important thing you can do for yourself.
Awesome.
So for me, not only are my self-tape class, not only are my classes focused on the self-tape post, but more so the entire thing is really about how to structure your acting career as your business, because that's what it is. You are a business owner and the business is you.
Oh, you hear it here first from Lisa Roth.